This is what it is, okay? I said, empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
I would say that flow is a state of mind in which an individual is at complete peace with themselves, with the world around them, and with whatever activity they're doing at the moment.
Being lost in what you're doing, being in the zone, being so engrossed in what's going on, what you're currently doing, that nothing else matters. You'd rather be doing nothing else.
A state of mind or an experience, a state of experience that we feel when we're totally involved in what we're doing. I began to notice how important this feeling is in the arts, for instance, for painters or musicians. They are just sometimes working for days without stopping, and that feeling that then they try to explain it to someone who wasn't involved in the painting, and they explain it as being completely carried away, almost like being in a river and the flow of the water takes them on. The state of mind has the same characteristics. Everybody describes it as being very focused, very clear goals, immediate feedback to the action, and balance of challenges and skills. So this is the experience of flow as they describe it in art, in sports, in music, and every time a person is really involved in what they're doing.
Since I was 5 years old, I've been practicing martial arts. My dad was the one who encouraged me to start practicing martial arts, and I've been doing it ever since. I have now received my black belt. It's been about 4 years, and I would definitely say that when I'm in the dojo and when I'm practicing martial arts, that's most definitely when I'm at that state of mind where, you know, you could call it flow. I definitely am completely at peace with everything, completely stress-free. There's not a concern in the world. It doesn't matter if I have a test, or, you know, if my girlfriend's fighting with me, if my dad's mad at me, whatever the case may be. I was maybe around like 11, 12 years old, I started going to the adult classes, because I was always a bigger kid, I was taller. And on Saturdays, you know, it was known to be the most like rigorous training day of the week. There was one specific instructor, and that was his day. So when the head instructor of the class approached me and said, you know, Chris, you're a bigger kid, I want you to start going to the adult classes, pick one day of the week to go. The Saturday black belt instructor happened to have been there, and he looked at me and he's like, I'll see you this Saturday. And ever since then, I went to the adult class, and that's really when I started to experience the passion for martial arts. That's when I got a lot better, because I was training with adults. You know, when you train or when you do anything with somebody who's better than you, that's how you improve. So I was training with adults who were more experienced, and they had obviously a physical advantage. So when I would spar with them, I would get knocked around a little bit, and that's how I became better. and that's really when I started to experience like flow. I would definitely say that it's one of the most beneficial things that I've done for myself is practicing martial arts. It really became a culture that I was engulfed in, and it's definitely defined, you know, the way I see the world around me.
When I was very young, the very first memory I have of being totally lost in an activity is video games. When you're young, you obviously get distracted a lot, you run around, do a lot of things. The first memory I have of staying at a task for a very long duration of time is playing games. The very first game I ever bought was Vector Man, and I remember when I was playing this game when I was young, I would just get lost in it. There was for a very long time, I couldn't get past the first level. At the end, there was this boss of sorts. He was this plane, basically. Vector Man is some man who's made up of a bunch of green circles. His head's a green circle, its arms are a bunch of green circles, and he shoots out just these photons. And this plane that comes down at the end of the level is just a plane, and it's planned like this, but from the wings are a ball and chain, basically. And no matter what you do, no matter what you shoot, you can't hurt it, except that for one point when it opens up a hatchet and drops bombs on you. And while dropping these bombs, you basically have to shoot inside the hatchet. So it took me a long time to figure this out. I had to play for a very long time until eventually, one time mistake, I shot into the hatchet and got hurt. So after following around, I eventually beat it. It was a very rewarding experience. It's the very first experience I ever had getting into flow. Over the years, I've developed a strong love of games. A lot of people play video games and they play them for a short duration of time. I really can't get into a video game unless it really taxes me mentally. Unless I have to think, unless I feel like I'm constantly involved, intrigued, and figuring new things out. If it's too easy, if it's too one track, something of this sort, I really can't get lost in it. There's many games that came out that seemed like I would have a good time. I bought them, had high expectations, but that wasn't the case because they really didn't keep me intrigued, involved, and going mentally.
Two things that we measure is the amount of challenge people experience at that moment and the amount of skills that they feel they have at that moment. So for each person, we can establish an average, which is the center of the diagram. That would be your mean level of challenge and skill, which will be different from that of anybody else. But you have a kind of a set point there, which would be in the middle. If we know what that set point is, we can predict fairly accurately when you will be in flow, and it will be when your challenges are higher than average and skills are higher than average. And you may be doing things very differently from other people, but for everyone, that flow channel, that area there, will be when you are doing what you really like to do. Play the piano, probably. Be with your best friend. Perhaps work, if work is what provides flow for you. And then the other areas become less and less positive. Arousal is still good because you are over challenged there. Your skills are not quite as high as they should be, but you can move into flow fairly easily by just developing a little more skill. So arousal is the area where most people learn from because that's where they are pushed beyond their comfort zone, and that to enter, going back to flow, then they develop higher skills. Control is also a good place to be because there you feel comfortable, but not very excited. It's not very challenging anymore. And if you want to enter flow from control, you have to increase the challenges. So those two are ideal and complementary areas from which flow is easy to go into. The other combinations of challenge and skill become progressively less optimal. Relaxation is fine, you still feel okay. Boredom begins to be very aversive, and apathy becomes very negative. You don't feel that you're doing anything, you don't use your skills, there's no challenge. Unfortunately, a lot of people's experience is in apathy.
Everybody needs a way to relieve stress. You know, living in today's society, there's stress all around us. And people need to find a proactive way to relieve that stress. Otherwise, it's just going to build and they're going to just grow to be unhappy in the end. They're not going to be happy with, you know, just their overall life or where they are in a moment, their career, you know, what they happen to be doing. They're just not going to be happy. So everybody needs a way to relieve stress. That's why I think that it could be very beneficial for everybody to actively seek an activity in which they find themselves in flow, whatever that activity may be. It'll definitely be a good way to help individuals find inner happiness, and as a society, it could definitely help. Decrease the amount of anxiety and depression that there is in our country and around the world.
I think flow, if everybody were to get into it, would benefit mankind tremendously. I think every major breakthrough that's occurred for humanity has been because of people who are in a state of flow. People such as Elon Musk, who are developing the next generation of cars, who are trying to get space travel to become something available to the commercial individual, somebody who would buy the way to space travel. These people are driven to work 20-hour days to do non-stop work without eating, thinking of anything else besides their work. And that's not because they have to do it. That's not because of the paycheck looking for it. It's because they don't want to stay intrigued and mentally tasked with what they're doing. People like Beyonce, who do incredible work in their industries, go and forget to eat all day because they're so lost in what they're doing. If everybody were to find what intrigued them, no matter what it was, if you were intrigued by making the best eraser in the world, and you were lost in a state of flow, like non-stop, you wouldn't stop until you made an unbelievably ridiculous breakthrough in erasers. We got erasers that could erase paint off walls. This is what we need in society. We will get into states of flow.